Welcome to Beyond the Bio with Terra the Connector, a podcast about people behind the success stories. I'm Terra Csotty, entrepreneur, host, and passionate connector, and I believe that behind every achievement, there's a journey filled with lessons, courage, and connection. This show isn't about filters, highlights, or titles. It's about the real stuff, the risk, the growth, and the relationships that shape who we become. Because success isn't just what you do, it's who you are beyond the bio. All right, well, I'm excited today. I'm here with a special guest, Stacey Taylor.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining. And Stacey, we go back quite a while.
Yes.
Real quick, before we start, our sponsor of today's episode is DFCU Financial. So thank you for sponsoring this episode. And Stacey's a top producing Michigan realtor with over 20 years of experience serving Clarkson, Waterford, Lake Orion, Oakland County, and of course, Southeast Michigan.
Yes.
And she's ranked in the top 0.5% of realtors statewide and voted Clarkson's best of the best multiple years in a row. Stacey's known for her expertise, dedication, and the trust she's built in her community. And today we're going beyond the success to talk about the journey behind it. So
awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah. So Stacey, I met Stacey obviously with Real Producers of Oakland County. You got referred as a rising star in the industry. Yes. And I remember us meeting to talk about potentially being featured.
Yes, that was back in 2019. Actually, we would have met in 2018 because I was in January of 2019.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah. Yes, time flies. And now here we've got a friendship, a business relationship.
Right.
Yes.
So Stacey did get featured in Oakland County Real Producers as a rising star. And then I remember when you got featured that you bought like those reprints.
Yes.
And you would put those in listing appointments for open houses.
Yes.
And the next thing you know, you're like, I think I'm going to do 20 million. And then I think I'm going to do 30 million. I'm like, what? Whoa. Like your business started exploding.
Yes, it did. And I credit a lot of that, honestly, to the exposure of Real Producers. When you get in rooms, like I'm a big believer of being in rooms where, like, you can learn from every person in that room. And I think Real Producers does that. I've never walked away from an event without meeting a couple of people that I've seen or I wanted to touch base with. And then, as I've developed as an agent, I've had that kind of happen to me where people have came up and said, oh my gosh, like I've always wanted to meet you. And I'm looking around like, do they mean me?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been great. And I remember in 2019, I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to be in this magazine. And I would get it every month and I would look at the cover person and it was like an icon in the industry and, or a team. And I just thought, like, if I can get one little thing from their article, I'll never be able to be on a cover, but I can just learn a little something. And then, life just changed. My business grew. And in 2021, I was on the cover. So, I guess if anything, like never stop reaching for the stars and striving,
Right. I mean, and you are a hustler. So I know that from personal experience.
I was going to say, it takes one to know one.
Maybe that's why we connect so well. I will say Stacey helped me on a personal level. There was a few years back where we got a lake house and she would run all over for us, showing us different homes. And you definitely are a hustler and work for your people.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think I remember we looked at a few that didn't even actually have roads going to
my gosh.
Yes. But that was fun. And, it was such an honor too, to work with you and, for you to choose because a lot of amazing people. And, so that meant the world to me for sure.
So obviously this is beyond the bio.
Okay.
So first off, before we go beyond where you're at right now, let's, you have when did you announce that you went to At Properties? Let's talk about that.
So in June, and I was happy where I was at currently. I was with a small, like an independent brokerage in Troy. I wasn't really looking to make a move, but I was kind of going through a lot of like personal change. My goals had shifted. I had hit what I wanted to hit with sales. I wanted to sell 100 homes in a year, as a solo agent. And I did. I sold 110. I wanted to break 30 million. And I did that a couple times. And what kind of happened is I got tired. And, to do that pace as a solo agent, it's brutal. And so I started kind of looking and thinking like, I want to kind of rein it in and really focus more on relationships, like the same thing that grew my business in the first place.
Yeah.
And Properties offers a lot of things that kind of, focus on that. So they were on my radar a little bit, but I wasn't looking to move until I heard they were coming to Clarkston. And it was the minute I heard that. So I knew a couple months before it was official. And I said, if it happens, I'm in. Because I have always respected Emily Ford and her mother, Pam, the whole time I've been in the industry. I've looked up to them, I've respected them. And so when the opportunity to come be a part of something with them was there, I was all in for that, for sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in the real estate industry?
So that's an interesting question. So I got my license right out of college. Like I was 22 years old. I'd planned to go to law school, but I wasn't ready to take on the debt. And I thought, well, I'd worked for attorneys like the 2 years prior to that, and we did a lot of real estate law. And I thought, well, this looks easy, and fun, and I'll wear cute clothes and show pretty houses. So I got my license, and then I ended up starting a family. I'd been married about a year and a half at that point. Was not the plan necessarily, but we embraced it. So I didn't really do much with real estate. And then at the same time, my now ex-husband and I started a construction company, and we just grew by leaps and bounds. We went from 1 employee to 5 to 10 all in 2 years.
Wow.
So I had my license. I used it for like a few investments here and there. And I worked with a few people, here and there. I think maybe over 10 years, I sold 10 houses. I did nothing with it. And then as the recession kind of started looming, I put my license in escrow, and I didn't touch it for probably at least 9 or 10 years. Then in 2014, brought around a divorce, which also meant I couldn't own a company with him anymore.
Right.
So I walked away from the custom home we built. I walked away from the business I owned 51% of. And I said, I'm going to give myself 1 year in real estate, to sink or swim. And so I did, and it was slow going. I did book work on the side for a couple different contractors. I didn't just jump right in and flourish. In 2014, I sold 2 houses, which, my primary residence, and then the much smaller home I downsized to. And then 2015, I think I sold like $3 million. And 2016, I took a training called Ninja. And it just, that flipped a switch for me. And that's when I kind of started growing at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a big shift in your personal life.
Yes, huge.
Kind of pushed you into real estate.
Yeah, there's nothing kind of scarier than like a divorce and an entire life change in your early 40s. But then to also say, well, I'm going to be self-employed. And my daughter just got accepted to an Ivy League college that same time, and all support was going to fall on my shoulders. So it was scary, but I didn't know what I'd always been self-employed, different things. I'd always been an entrepreneur. Once I reached adulthood. So I just said, what's the worst that happens? It doesn't work out. I'll go get another job. So, and it was the best thing I ever did, for sure.
I love that. So what motivates you every day to grind like you do?
Oh man. Well, for a while I was chasing those numbers, and I was in an office of, My former brokerage was very transaction motivated. So like we had like basically a leaderboard, and you could see who's at the top, who's at the bottom. And I think that all good realtors have like a narcissistic side. You have to put yourself out there and face rejection, every day. But it really brought out a competitive side in me, which was really good until it turned really bad, and I came from a very emotionally abusive 20-year marriage. It became a toxic environment, professionally for me, and that was part of also why I wanted to move brokerages, just for me, for my peace of mind. Right. And like the last couple of years, I've really shifted more into taking care of myself, because then I'm a better version for my clients, for my family. You're going to laugh because you know me so well. I have even got into like crystals. I meditate with crystals. I am really into all of that. Yeah. Like, who am I now?
Wow.
But I'm the happiest I've been. I really am. And so like my motivation now is different. It's not, well, I want to have 15 things pending this month. Now it's just a little different. It's more like overall kind of goals. I mean, and to be fair, I still have lofty goals,
Yeah.
I mean, I have to do 20 million a year to be happy with myself, but I don't need to work 90 hours a week anymore.
Right. Yeah. So taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Which is number one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you have a lot of support helping you.
I do. So yeah, I say I'm a solo agent, but I do have a little bit of behind the scenes help. I got remarried a few years ago, and my husband is an architect. So I was making him help me all the time anyway. Like I'd bring him along to a showing, what do you think about this sloping floor? Should we be concerned, or can we take this wall out? And so finally I said, why don't you just get your license and help me? And he was ready for a career change. So he's actually at an inspection right now for me. Nice. But yeah, so he helps me with on the buyer side a little bit. My listings are 100% me. Like I really pride myself in my listings. And, I offer staging. I'm there micromanaging photos every step of the way, just everything. I don't pass that on to anyone else. But I do he helps me behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's nice. Yeah.
And speaking of your family, I remember a few years back when you were helping your daughter get a house. And then I think I saw something else about your daughter recently.
Yes. Well, and funny story with her. But yeah, so she is actually on house number 3. It's
no way.
Yes. I mean, right out of college, she lived in Detroit for a year, like renting an apartment. Hated it. Well, she loved it until after Christmas. And then like the lure of Detroit was just not as fun. Moved to a fixer-upper in Grosse Pointe, stayed there a year and a half. We fixed it up. She did really well. Moved to Berkeley, stayed there 2 years, same thing. And I said, we're done. No more moves. But her and her husband are 5 minutes from me now, which is
really?
awesome because, yes, there is some exciting news. I am going to be a grandmother.
Yay!
Although that word to me sounds old. I will be Gigi.
I love Gigi.
Yes. In June, they're expecting a girl.
Aw,
so, yes.
Congratulations.
Yep, I'm so excited.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Well, you don't look like a grandma.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So with where you're at right now, what do you have in the future here for 2026? What are your plans, your goals? I mean,
so part of this whole spiritual side of me that's kind of came out. Instead of really setting goals, well, I mean, I do have goals, but I set intentions. And I started using last year like a habit tracker, and I do it every month, and I have 10 daily goals. Some weekly goals, some monthly goals. And then I look back at the month and see how I did and where can I improve. And it's kind of, some of it is really kind of common sense, but I need it on paper. It's, be up by X time, make my bed, do some form of movement, and I like to check a box. I'm a list person, so I love to check that little box. But so I have those kind of goals. But I mean, this year, definitely I would like to do about 22 million, minimally. But I've got a lot of personal things that I'd like to do. I don't know. There's something in me, and my daughter was actually just talking about this again because my journey that got me here is a whole different topic. But suffice it to say, I'm very passionate for women's rights and helping them leave toxic environments or unsafe environments. And some of the things that kind of went on and that I went through, I don't know that I necessarily want to write a book, but there's something there. There's something in my soul I'm still not quite fulfilling, if that makes sense.
Well, maybe this is a start on this podcast to share a little bit of your story.
I'm not sure what that path is, and I'm actually thinking about a life coach to see if I can kind of get some clarity on that. But real estate will always be my love and my main thing, but now that I'm more intentional with my career, it gives me time for other things, which is
100%.
Nice. Yeah, I even had a garden this summer.
Wow.
Literally a garden.
I think, would you agree, for especially high-performing real estate agents, probably one of the biggest challenges is that balance?
It is, and I think I was to the point where I either had to grow a team or I had to scale back. Something had to give. I couldn't keep doing it. And there's nothing wrong with teams. I know I've got some very good friends that run amazing teams with a great service. I also know some teams that aren't so great, and for me, that's not what I wanted to do. My business is based on repeat and referral. And if someone is referring me, they want me. They're not recommending me so I can pass it off to, someone who just got their license, Again, nothing at all wrong with teams, but it doesn't align with how I like to run my business. So that's kind of, where I ended up. Something had to give. I couldn't keep doing it, not keep my sanity anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as far as your past experiences, do you want to touch up any more on what has led you to where you're at, or driven you to be such a driven, successful, motivated person?
I think I didn't. Failure was not an option, in the beginning for sure. And I can remember, so I started, when I got my license out of escrow, I was at Coldwell Banker, and my broker now, he's long since retired, but he'd been around forever. And he's the one that encouraged me to take this ninja 4-day training, which it really flips like the whole way you look at life. Like, it's all about like practicing daily gratitudes and coming from like a place of value. You're not salesy with ninja, which is actually really neat. Talk about like full circle. At Properties truly subscribes to the ninja belief. And in fact, our director of growth and development is one of 26 worldwide ninja coaches.
Get out of here.
Yes. And and I had no idea, but I liked their values. It felt right in my heart. And so when I started learning all that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm home. This is where I need to be. But my broker back at Coldwell Banker, I remember sitting with him, and I was at the time like the number 2 agent in the office. And I remember like we did some numbers, however, like it worked out back in like 2015. And he was like, do you think you could be happy if you made $80,000 a year? And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, could I, And I'm like, I don't know that I could, but gosh, that'd be great. I could pay my daughter's tuition and put some money aside. And, like I fast forward, I was blessed enough during those crazy years where those would be a month sometimes, but I was also spending that money as quick as I was making it because I'm hiring everything out. I'm not doing proper tax planning. But I just, failure was just never an option, I think. And, Real Producers was definitely a motivational factor for me. I don't even think that we've talked about that before, but that rising star just lit a fire under me.
I love that.
And so then, 2021 was that pivotal year for me. And a lot of good and bad happened that year. I was getting married. Mm-hmm. My son had what could have been a fatal accident at work, all at the same time. This is all happening while we're doing the photo shoot. I found out I was going to be, on the cover of Real Producers. And I remember my broker then saying to me, I think you can sell 100 houses this year. And this was like September. And I'm like, are you nuts? I'm like, I've got a wedding in Mexico in a month and a half. I don't even have a dress. I haven't planned it. I can't. And he's like, I think you can. And so again, when you do that to me, I'm like, okay, maybe I can. And I ended up selling 110 that year.
That's amazing.
Which was crazy. And then the next year is when
Solo agent, everyone.
Solo, yes.
By the way.
No showing agent. My husband was not helping me then because we weren't even married. I don't necessarily recommend you strive for that though, because it came with a big health toll on me. But I don't know. I have to have goals. And I feel like we're blessed in this industry because there's 100 ways to be successful. There's no right or wrong way. Like I could sit here with a couple other agents and we all have a different style.
Right.
But it's also it's limitless. I believe a lot in philanthropy. Like you introduced me to Habitat for Humanity, which was awesome. And I still do a lot with them. But, what you want to make and what you want to accomplish is up to you. And there's not that many careers that you can say that about.
True.
So I feel, even when I'm like a little defeated, I remind myself of that, or that these clients are counting on me, so.
Okay, so I want to go back to these crystals that you're talking about because it is interesting because I think, obviously we're talking about real estate and in your life, but as far as this holistic approach and how did you get into this?
I know.
Tell me a little bit more. Okay. I'm curious.
Yes. So, and I highly recommend this place. So a couple of years ago, and I think I told you about it, my daughter and I went to Arizona to like a wellness retreat. And it was actually way more healthy than we realized. Like I have a Diet Coke addiction like no other. You could not buy a soda on the premises, like not at all. Like I could have sarsaparilla or I could drink cactus, but like I could not have a Diet Coke. And I thought I was going to lose my mind. But it was really neat because like you can sign up for all the classes you want. So I did aerial yoga. Like I was hanging upside down like with the silks. We did numerology. We got into a little bit of like crystals and things there. So that kind of interested me a little bit in it, somewhat. And then last October, I was already kind of going down this whole manifestation path. But last October, we went to Arizona, my daughter, my son-in-law, and my husband. And we spent some time in Sedona. And her and I spent probably like 2 hours at a crystal store. And the woman, she spent like all this time, like right away, she's like, I think this is what you need. And she was like nailing these things in both of our lives. Like my daughter has a lot of career ambitions and she has a very stressful job. And she right away like recommended some crystals to help her with that. We walked out with like this biggest bag of crystals. And, I already kind of was following things with like the moon and stuff. Well, while we were there, it was like the last big moon of 2025. I think it was like the harvest moon. And, Arizona's beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. So we sat outside, we put our crystals out, we let them charge. And, we kind of laughed a little bit about it, but yeah, it also was meaningful. So that kind of really like just finally did it. But, I will usually choose one each day that kind of matches, what I feel I need or what I want to focus on. And and what I do, I don't like meditate. I'm not like that Zen yet, but I'll journal about it.
I love that.
Like, one of them it kind of like helps like release some negativity, and I'm going through some personal negativity things right now. So I kind of write about that, and this sounds kind of weird, but it helps. Like if I start the day in the right frame of mind, you're just set up for success.
I bet you there's people listening to this podcast who do the same thing. And if you want to connect with Stacey on, gems
some mumbo
and stones,
jumbo.
and there actually is a place in downtown Rochester.
Shut up.
That
Is
has
there?
a ton of stones and crystals and
I'll have
definitely,
to go. Okay.
Yeah. If you call me, I'm close to there. We can check it out.
Maybe a little wine.
But
little crystals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Little dinner in there.
Yes.
But that's always interests me. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Because,
and I don't even know if it works, but if it works here, that's all that matters,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally believe in it.
Love it. So what excites you for the future?
Oh gosh, well, definitely, having a granddaughter,
Yes.
that's pretty exciting. But I'm excited to do this training. So I signed up for Ninja again. Like I am actually going to take it, and it's expensive. It's 4 full days. I mean, it's a big commitment. But I'm in a different season of life and a different season in my career than when I took it in 2016. And when I took it that year, I actually didn't go to all 4 days because during that time, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I had to take her to that appointment. And, I was going to go back for the rest of day 3, but I wasn't in the right frame of mind. But I missed some things for sure. And I'm excited to get this material again 10 years later. And they've revamped it, as the industry has changed. But I'm excited for that. That's actually in a couple weeks. So I'm excited for that to see what else that opens up, with me. And like I said, I've got some more creative things I want to do. And, I would like to, I'd like to flip a house,
cool.
this year. I'd like to maybe add another rental to my portfolio and then just, another thing I really enjoy, I like, even though I hate public speaking and like this stuff makes me so nervous, I enjoy it. And I did a little bit of speaking at events the last couple of years, and I would love to do a little bit more of that, because I feel like a couple of the opportunities I had, I was on stage with 2 very, very well-known other agents that have the billboards, they're the the flash, and they're great, but I feel like the average everyday agent can relate a little bit more to me, and I mean, I truly built my business. I didn't buy leads, I didn't come from a legacy of a family of realtors.
Right.
I grew up in Pontiac. I didn't grow up in a wealthy environment. So I feel like if I can help a couple people, inspire them a little bit and, help them not give up on the industry and things like that, then I think would be a real win for 2026.
What do you like speaking about? Like if you're on either to a group or a panel, what do you like speaking about?
I really, I actually have even got this little presentation that I did. Actually, it was about a year and a half now, and it was about how to sell 100 homes or more without cold calling, without door knocking, and without buying leads. And, I just talked about those things that I do. So I like to share that because I've got a ton of ideas. I need to get back to doing a lot of it, the practice what you preach thing. But there's so many things that agents can do that they don't cost a lot of money, or they don't cost anything. And they can do that, and really they can change their life and they can change other people's lives. So if I can kind of be that catalyst, that just really fulfills me.
Love it. So reach out to Stacey if you want her to speak at one of your upcoming events.
I'll bring some crystals.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like any listeners to hear? Anything else about
gosh.
you?
Now, see, that's where I would have had some notes. I'd have thought about this, and then I would have forgot anyway or not said it right. I guess I would just say, believe in yourself and trust me. The sky really is the limit with this career. There's no right or wrong way to do things as long as you come from a place of being authentic and obviously ethical. But, just really what I could say to come away with is to be intentional and be, to come from a place of value in your heart. Don't come across salesy.
Yeah.
It almost always fails. From the listing side, don't tell sellers the high number that they want to hear. Tell them what's right because you're costing them money. I could go on and on.
Well, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, my cell number is 810-560-9857. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for Stacey Taylor. And on Instagram, it's Stacey Taylor Realtor.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again for being on this episode of Beyond the Bio. I'm excited to see what you do this year. And, you talked a little bit more about being, talking to more groups of people.
Yes.
And expanding and digging in deeper into your personal growth.
Yes, I'm putting that out there. I'm manifesting that that's going to happen some more this year. So yeah, I would love opportunities to do that for sure.
Love it. Well, thanks again. And this episode of Beyond the Bio is sponsored by DFCU Financial, a trusted credit union serving members in both Michigan and Florida. And for 75 years, DFCU Financial has been there for life's biggest moments, like finding the place you'll finally call home. With competitive mortgage rates, service, specialty programs, and an in-house title agency, DFCU is the only mortgage partner you need. Plus, through their unique cash back program, DFCU has returned more than $500 million to their members and communities over the last 20 years. So bring your mortgage to DFCU and get your share today. Learn more at dfcufinancial.com. Thanks again. Thank you so much for spending this time with us on Beyond the Bio. If today's conversation resonated with you, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can watch the full episode on YouTube or listen wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple Music. And if you want more behind-the-scenes content, clips, and updates, be sure to follow us on social media. You can also learn more, connect with me, and explore everything we're building at terratheconnector.com. Thanks again for being here. And remember, success isn't just what you do, it's who you are beyond the bio.